Welcome back, folks. This is Tony the Hoofer, finishing off this Football Manager 16 new player guide. I've simmed the game through to the 28th of February. Today, we've had a whole bunch of emails come through letting us know that our tutoring has been completed. So I wanted to show you through this, show you the outcome of the tutoring that we set early on. I can't remember which players I showed you in the tutoring area initially, but you'll get a good idea from these guys. I remember what some of the youngsters were set as. So we had Christian Benteke, who's an ambitious player with runs with the ball, simple passing, offside trap, and back to goal. We've had him tutoring Divock Origi. If we have a look at Divock Origi, when we began, I believe was a balanced player. I may be incorrect there. He's now become spirited, so he can't have been balanced. He must have had another trait, which has merged with ambitious to end up as spirited. Spirited's good. It makes the player a bit harder to sign contracts with, a bit more likely to want to move, but it does make him enthusiastic about the game and about training and wanting to be his best. So it's not a bad personality. In the last video, I put a link. I'll put the link in this video as well. I put a link to a tutoring guide at, I think it's Football Manager Guides. There's various sites that give you in-depth information about Football Manager, and I highly recommend using them all. There's information to be found everywhere that will be useful to you. That one that I've linked describes the different personality types, I believe. So that will be that will fill out what I'm showing you here. I'm very much just showing you what I do, and I'm certain I make mistakes. Adam Lallana had fairly ambitious, and he was mentoring Shea Ojo. That's great. That's carried through. We'll have a look for. So these two have both been delighted with the results of their mentoring. It's quite likely that their determination will now match the person that was mentoring them when it goes well. Yeah, so they've both got determination of 16. That's good. It's good to have a high determination, and that's something you may want to look at. I'm more concerned about the personalities than I am about the determination rating, but the determination rating always carries through. 14, 13, so it's come up towards Adam Lallana's determination. The determination can also go down if the player being tutored has a higher determination to begin with, but as long as it's not horrific, as long as you're not mentoring with the personality types that allow the personality types professional, ambitious, and resolute that I generally go for will always have, they require a high determination to hold that personality type, so that's not too much of a problem anyway. Yeah, his determination has met Skirtle's, and he was balanced at the beginning of the season. He's now resolute. A resolute player is much more likely to knuckle down and do the training that we want them to. He's disappointed, so usually when you have a player who's disappointed with their tutoring, they don't pick up the personality, but in this case he has. Disappointed is the lowest level of successful tutoring, so we're really lucky here. Any lower than this, and the tutoring actually finishes early, with the player saying they're disappointed after having spent time with the player, and that's happened to a couple of players. I believe the players that we set in the mentoring video last time, that you saw set, they actually failed early, I believe. We can quickly skim through the rest of these. Delighted, delighted. Tiago Alori now has a resolute personality, perfect. Sacco has resolute as well, I remember from previously. James Milner is a professional. Pedro Chiravella is now a fairly determined. That's not good enough. He must have started with a bad personality, with something worse than balanced. So we'll look to do more mentoring, potentially with James Milner again. We would like Chiravella because he's got a high potential. We would like him to reach that potential by getting a better mentality around him. Emre Can is disappointed after hanging out with Lucas Leiva. Lucas Leiva is a professional. Yes, he is. Emre Can is now a determined. Yeah, that's not great. We'll do more mentoring with Chan. We have to be conscious that our last opportunity to mentor him will be the next cycle. We'll need to wait 1 month before the tutors are interested in mentoring again. There's a cooldown of 1 month between finishing tutoring and beginning new tutoring. So we'll likely look to get Emre Can to mentor with someone else that he'll more readily he'll be more happy with being mentored by, and we'll hope to get him past determined. Grabara, our young keeper who we're excited about, is delighted with Mignolet. Mignolet's professional, I believe. No, he's fairly professional. He's fairly professional. And Grabara hopefully is fairly professional. He is indeed. Perfect. And that's all of the mentoring that made it through. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 successes. I imagine I set about 9. I went through all of our young players and tried to get them excited about the mentoring. It's a shame that only 7 have made it through. I imagine I would have done probably 11, so that's quite a high failure rate. But that's what happens. Sometimes the players just don't gel for whatever reason, and that's mentoring. There's one last thing that I wanted to show you before I go. This is something that I do regularly. Yes, you can have them on loan. Rather than relying solely on us bringing in young players, really young players, through the ranks, I search, at the end of every month, I search the world for youth intakes in other countries. The youth intake for the UK, or sorry, for England, I believe is March. So I can't show you that just yet. But what I'll show you, well, I won't show you that. It happens in March, but and you get the option to a whole bunch of young players come through. You get options to play them against your youth team. You compare the new players against from this game in their youth team. Your coaches have a look at the new players, and you decide which ones you're going to offer youth contracts to and which ones you're not going to offer youth contracts to. It's the best day of the year, and I'm slightly tempted to show you now, and I may do, but for the meantime, I'll show you what I do throughout the rest of the year. So at the end of the month, each month, I'll go to World, I'll go to Transfers. I'll change it from all transfers because I really don't care about the vast majority of these. What I do care about is youth intake. So we can see that in February, Rosenborg, that's a Scandinavian country if I recall. Don't recognize those. They might be Central America. No, don't recognize. This is all around the world. This is using our entire scouting network to give us this information. Right down the bottom though, I see that today, the 28th, we had a couple of players spawn isn't the right term. A couple of players come through the ranks in Croatia. So both of these clubs are good clubs in Croatia. We'll have a look at these players. doesn't look great from his stats. Nor he costs quite a bit for a 17-year-old from Croatia. What I'll do is I'll copy exactly what I do in the long term each month, and that I select every youth player and I say get scout report. Very good. I'll get a scout report. We'll keep continuing until these reports land. Oh, we're probably going to have a game before the scout reports land. So what I'll do is I will... Was that scout reports? Nope, that was information I don't care about. What we'll do, I don't think I've actually mentioned this before. If you don't want to play every game, if you are more interested in the transfer windows and your player intakes and your scouting, and you're quite happy to leave your assistant manager to run things, you can go on holiday. It's up to you the way you want to play. I do this sometimes. For this game, I've effectively gone on holiday after the transfer window. After our last video, I went on holiday until the summer transfer window. Nothing much of note happened. Well, actually, a lot happened in the summer transfer window. I ran through that myself and did some big moves. But nothing that I wanted to show you. The summer transfer window is almost identical to the winter transfer window, except that it's slightly shorter. And clubs have less money to spend, but I think I sold Lovren to Barca for £30 million, which allowed us to get in 3 new youth players, I believe, and get more game time for Ilori and for Gomez, the 2 young centre backs that we had available to us, and that's seemingly gone fine, given that Liverpool are still in the top 4. Oh, we're 5th at the moment, but I think that's because we're a game behind. Let's scroll through here. Oh no, it's because we lost to Spurs. And here are our scout reports that I wanted to show you. Okay, so we've got a very good looking player there. We've only scouted into 68%. Were I doing this properly, I would do full due diligence and get 100% scouting available for on him. But we'll make a transfer offer now based on the very rough information that we have. He'll join at the next available transfer date. So this transfer, although we're making the offer now, it won't actually occur until... it doesn't say a date, but it'll be the 1st of July, after the Croatian season ends and when our transfer window opens. We'll suggest that price. They're happy with that. Very good. And where was the other chap? Dominic Turkali. We'll make an offer for him. They wanted around £100,000. That's fine for us. This here is a really good way to fill up your youth ranks. At the moment, if we have a look at our under 18s, we've got only 2 players that are even worth training, maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 players that are even worth training. The rest of these will never come close to getting to the first team, and we probably don't even want them playing in our under 21s team. So were this my second season, I'd get rid of all of these players. I'd release them on a free. It'll cost £185,000. I would do that, except that we've got no other players to replace them with. So after a year's worth of going through every month and adding a couple of players, bear in mind we've found 2 decent looking players after scouting 7 players. So you can find a lot of decent looking youth players to bring through from using that process, and you can build an entire team around these youth players that you bring in. There is a caveat in that some nations won't let you won't let you do transfers for players who are too young. We're able to make these transfers because they're both within Europe. If we try to get South American players, they can't be released until the player themselves has turned 18, Even in Europe, I don't think you can get 16-year-olds until the transfer window that occurs after they turn 17. So bear that in mind. If you make a bid for a Brazilian player, you'll end up waiting until they turn 18. And if they're at a bad club with bad facilities, it's highly likely that they'll lose some of their potential ability in the intervening period. But I think that's everything that I wanted to show you. I'm getting emails left and right, so I should get back to work. That's everything I wanted to show you. If there's anything else I remember, I may make an addendum to this. But in the meantime, I hope you've enjoyed the series. I hope this has inspired you to try and find Football Manager 16. It should be nice and cheap now, given that 18 is about to drop. Have a play with it. Hopefully you'll enjoy it as much as I have. I think I've logged something phenomenal, some 1800 hours playing this game since it got released 3 years ago. No, it must be close to, no, 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I'd say. Yeah, so I've logged a good amount of time on it. I really love the game. I'm in no way, shape, or form the best player. There's a lot better information out there. There's people who play it a lot more competitively than I do. I just love playing this game. I've almost always got a game on the go. And hopefully you'll be the same. You'll enjoy, you'll be able to find and you'll buy Football Manager 16. You'll play it for a while, and hopefully you'll join me in playing Football Manager 18. I'll be buying that when it comes out, or not long after. Normally it takes a month or two for the various bugs to settle down, so I may buy it a couple of months later, and I'll look to make another series then, hopefully showing you through that. In the meantime, I've been Tony the Hoofer. You've been great. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on our next series.